A few weeks ago, reports emerged that Western powers were quietly seducing one member of the Sahel Alliance to betray the rest. The report didn't name names, but now the signs are showing because something unprecedented just happened in Mali. Transitional leader Assimi Goita has signed a law granting himself unlimited presidential terms, effectively making him president for life. This isn't just another political maneuver, it's the quiet bet of a dynasty that could rule Mali for decades. What makes this move especially dangerous is its betrayal of Goita's own legacy. Like Uganda's Yoweri Museveni in 1986, he rose to power promising to restore democracy and purge corruption. But the law he just passed mirrors what Faure Gnassingbé did in Togo, where one family has ruled since 1967. Lord Anton once warned that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Today, Mali is witnessing that unfold in real time. But unlike Burkina Faso, where military rule was accepted, Malians are already resisting, and the signs of a possible civil revolt are everywhere. In this episode, we are going to expose how Goita is becoming the next Museveni, why this threatens the entire Alliance of Sahel States, and why every AES supporter needs to rethink what's happening before it's too late. To understand what's happening in Mali today, we need to look at Togo, where Faure Gnassingbé mastered the art of constitutional manipulation. In 2019, he amended Togo's constitution to reset term limit, allowing 2 more terms despite ruling since 2005. Then in 2024, he switched to a parliamentary system, positioning himself as president of the Council of Ministers, a role with unlimited 6-year terms. Sounds familiar? That's almost exactly what Goita is now doing in Mali. The Gnassingbé family has ruled Togo since 1967, forming Africa's longest-standing dynasty. Faure's father Eyedema seized power, promising reform, but held it for 38 years before his son took over seamlessly. This cycle, noble intentions overtaken by absolute power, is precisely the danger now facing Mali. What's most alarming is how closely Goita mirrors this playbook: loyal parliament, appeal to sovereignty, and dismissal of opposition as foreign meddling. The method is clear: promise democracy, then slowly entrench yourself. Lord Anton swore in rings louder than ever. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Mali is now on that dangerous path, and the warning signs from Togo couldn't be clearer. The most striking parallel to Goita's transformation lies in Uganda, where Yoweri Museveni's journey from Liberator to Dictator remains a powerful cautionary tale. In January 1986, Museveni stood before thousands of Ugandans and promised to govern for only 4 years before handing over to civilians. He urged people not to mistake him for the power-hungry leaders he had fought to remove. Those words sounded noble, but they didn't last. Museveni began with good intentions, stabilizing Uganda after the chaos of Idi Amin, fighting corruption and promising democratic reforms. But over time, power took hold. He scrapped term limit in 2005, then age limit in 2017, dismantling constitutional barriers one by one. Nearly 40 years later, he remains in power, an autocrat he once swore never to become. The parallels with Goita are impossible to ignore. Like Museveni, he emerged during a crisis, vowed reform, gained public support, and is now rewriting the rules to extend his rule indefinitely. This is the cost of African revolutionaries. The power they seize to save the nation often ends up corrupting them completely. Mali is now living this tragic cycle in real time. One key factor that makes Mali's situation more volatile is its stronger democratic tradition compared to other AES members like Burkina Faso or Niger. In 1991, a military coup in Mali led not to dictatorship, but to civilian rule and multi-party democracy. For over 2 decades, Mali was seen as one of Africa's most stable democracies, with regular elections and peaceful power transfers. That democratic culture runs deep, making it harder for military rulers to impose long-term control. By contrast, Burkina Faso and Niger have histories of accepting military rule, often viewing coups as necessary in times of crisis. Mali is different. The 2012 coup was widely unpopular, and even Goita's 2020 takeover was accepted only as a short-term fix. That's why this new unlimited mandate law is facing fierce resistance. The May 2025 protests in Bamako, where crowds chanted down with dictatorship and long-live democracy, prove that Mali's democratic spirit is alive. Unlike Burkina Faso, where party bans faced little pushback, Malians are openly fighting back. As the Institute for Security Studies observe, Mali's democratic legacy has ignited defiance, and that resistance could make Goita's power graph dangerously unsustainable. One of Goita's main justifications for holding on to power is the worsening security situation. But on the ground, the picture tells a different story. Despite Russian Wagner mercenaries being present since 2021, Mali's security has actually deteriorated. Wagner was meant to replace ineffective French troops with stronger Russian support. Instead, the results have been disappointing, if not disastrous. The July 2024 attack near the Algerian border was a brutal reminder. Two arrested separatists dealt heavy losses to both Malian forces and Wagner operatives, exposing serious weaknesses. Then, in June 2025, Wagner abruptly announced its withdrawal, citing the completion of its mission, a clear signal that expectations weren't met. Meanwhile, jihadist groups like JNM are expanding their reach, launching deadly operations that continue to overwhelm the military. And the economy is collapsing under the weight of sanctions, falling investment, and endless security spending, while basic services erode. This is the core flaw in Goita's unlimited mandate. Without delivering real security or economic relief, he is building his rule on unstable ground. The illusion of control is fading, and without results, Mali inches closer to revolt or even a counter-coup. The May 2025 protests in Bamako marked a turning point in Mali's political crisis. On May 3, hundreds took to the street holding signs like "Down with dictatorship, long live democracy," the first major show of resistance to the military government since 2020. This wasn't a fringe event. It was backed by a coalition of 80 political parties and civil society groups, united against Goita's plan for unlimited rule. The protests followed the government's national conference, which recommended Goita remain president until 2030 with renewable terms, a move many Malians saw as a betrayal. Tensions escalated when pro-government youth tried to block the demonstrations, exposing the deep division within the country. Goita responded quickly and harshly. On May 7, he suspended all political activities until further notice, effectively banning organized opposition. By May 3, he formally dissolved all political parties by a decree. Around the same time, opposition figures like Abba al-Hassan and El-Bashar Thiam reportedly disappeared, taken by Marx's government. This crackdown marks a dangerous shift towards authoritarianism. In a country with a strong democratic spirit, silencing dissent risks triggering not submission, but a much larger uprising. Mali's long history of counter-coups casts a chilling shadow over today's event. Since independence in 1960, the country has faced at least 8 coup attempts, proof that military rule in Mali is inherently unstable. The most recent came in 2022, when a suspected counter-coup blamed on Western influence likely stemmed from internal unrest over Goita's grip on power. A decade earlier in 2012, the Red Beret attempted to overthrow Captain Amadou Sango's Green Beret after being humiliated and disarmed. Though it failed, it revealed how quickly loyalty can fracture when military leaders overreach. Today, the conditions are eerily familiar. There's mounting frustration within military ranks, deepening international isolation, and public unrest that could spark rival factions into action. The dissolution of political parties and forced disappearances have fueled a climate of fear, one that history shows can easily tip into rebellion. Warning signs are everywhere: tighter security in Bamako, rising military tensions, and a shrinking circle of loyalists around Goita. When military rulers try to crown themselves president for life, they often unleash the very chaos they claim to prevent. The counter-coup clock is ticking, and Goita may soon face the fate of those he once overthrew. To my friends and supporters of the Alliance of Sahel States, this message comes from a place of genuine concern for the future of our region. The AES represents something beautiful: the dream of African sovereignty, the rejection of neo-colonialism, and the promise of a united Sahel. Many of us have celebrated the courage of leaders like Goita, Traore, and Chiani in standing up to Western powers and charting an independence path. These feelings are understandable and in many ways justified. However, we must honestly examine what's happening in Mali today. The unlimited mandate law isn't just about Goita staying in power. It's about the kind of precedent we are setting for the entire AES. When we allow one leader to become president for life, we are not building the sovereign, democratic Sahel we dream of. We are potentially creating another dynasty like the Gnassingbé family in Togo or the Museveni regime in Uganda. These leaders also started with good intentions and popular support, but absolute power corrupted them absolutely. The signs are troubling. The systematic suppression of opposition voices, the dissolution of political parties, and the forced disappearances of critics. This isn't the path to the liberated Africa we want. We need to consider whether supporting unlimited mandate might actually undermine the very sovereignty we are fighting for. True sovereignty comes from strong institutions and accountable governance, not from one-man rule. Perhaps it's time to reflect on what we are building. The AES has the potential to be a model for African independence and cooperation. But if we accept authoritarian practices in the name of sovereignty, we risk creating the very system of oppression we sought to escape. We can support African independence while still demanding democratic accountability. The choice is ours, but history's warning is clear. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and we must not let our dreams of liberation become nightmares of new dictatorships. This is Frontline Africa. If you value truth unfiltered and power reframed from an African lens, subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I am Ezekiel Enejeta. See you in the next one.